Queen Arya ruled the starborn dominion with a calm that felt colder than space itself. She had ruled for many cycles, longer than most stars were watched by living eyes. Her people believed she was chosen by fate, shaped by evolution and perfected by time. To them she was not just a queen. She was proof that their species stood above all others. The council chamber floated at the heart of the Dominion's capital station. Its walls were made of living crystal that shifted color with sound and emotion. When the council gathered, the chamber glowed with deep blues and sharp silvers, colors of control and judgment. Queen Arya sat upon a raised throne grown from the chamber floor itself. She did not need guards nearby. Her presence alone commanded silence. That day the council discussed a new species. Humans. The word itself caused faint ripples of amusement among the gathered nobles and scientists. Queen Arya leaned back slightly, her long form resting with practiced ease. Her eyes, dark and sharp, reflected floating data panels that displayed images of Earth and its people. Short-lived, one counselor said. Physically limited. Emotion-driven, another added. Prone to conflict. Queen Arya listened, her lips slowly curling into a smile that held no warmth. When the reports finished, she laughed. It was not loud, but it echoed clearly through the chamber. So these are the creatures spreading across nearby systems? She said. These fragile beings who struggle to survive on one small world? Her voice carried calm confidence, the kind that crushed disagreement before it could form. They rely on machines to breathe in space, she continued. They age rapidly. Their bodies fail them. Their history is chaos. She rose from her throne and stepped forward. The chamber reacted, glowing brighter as attention focused on her. Clever animals, she said. Nothing more. Useful, perhaps, for trade or labor. But equals. She paused, then laughed again. No. The council murmured in agreement. The Dominion had encountered many species before. Some were strong. Some were intelligent. None had challenged their rule in generations. At the edge of the chamber stood a small group of outsiders. Humans. They were allowed to observe, nothing more. This was a courtesy, not a right. Captain Ethan Hale stood among them. He wore a simple uniform, dark and unmarked except for a small symbol at his collar. He stood straight, hands relaxed at his sides, his face calm. He did not argue. He did not react. He simply listened. Queen Arya noticed him then. Compared to her people, he was small. His skin was soft. His eyes lacked the sharp glow of enhanced vision. To her, he looked unfinished, like a design abandoned too early. She studied him openly. This one, she said, pointing toward Ethan, represents your kind? Yes, your radiance, said a translator softly. Queen Arya walked closer. Each step was smooth and deliberate. She stopped a short distance from Ethan, towering over him. You hear how we describe your species, she said. You do not object. Ethan met her gaze. He bowed his head slightly, a gesture of respect, not submission. I am here to listen, he said simply. Some counselors laughed quietly. Queen Arya tilted her head. You accept being seen as lesser? Ethan's voice stayed calm. I accept that you see us that way. The chamber grew quieter. The living walls shifted to a dull gray, a color of mild curiosity. Queen Arya studied his expression, searching for fear, anger, pride, something. She found none. Interesting, she said. Most species argue when judged. Arguing would change nothing, Ethan replied. That answer pleased her more than she expected. Not because it showed strength, but because it showed understanding of power. She turned back to the council. The humans will be monitored, she declared. Nothing more. They pose no threat. Her gaze swept the room. Let this be clear. The Dominion does not fear creatures who break so easily. The decision was final. The council accepted it without challenge. Data panels dimmed. The chamber began to empty. As the gathering ended, Queen Arya returned to her throne. Yet her eyes lingered briefly on the human envoy before he was escorted away. Ethan walked through the long corridors of the station in silence. The walls curved smoothly around him, lit by soft alien light. Other humans walked beside him, some tense, some angry. She mocked us, one whispered. Ethan said nothing. In a quiet observation room far above the council chamber, Queen Arya stood alone. She reviewed the human reports again, this time more closely. Their wars, their losses, their recoveries, their endless attempts to survive on a dangerous world. Strange creatures, she murmured. They were weak by her standards. That much was clear. And yet they were everywhere. Spreading. Adapting. She dismissed the thought. Weak things often survive for a time. It meant nothing. Still, somewhere deep within her mind, a small question formed, one she did not yet allow herself to answer. How had such fragile beings lived this long? The stars outside the station burned quietly, watching as they always had. And humanity waited. The Queen's amusement did not last long. Several cycles after the first council meeting, Queen Arya returned to the observation deck. Below the wide glass floor, human ships rested in assigned bays. They were simple in design, built for function, not beauty. She had already judged them unremarkable. Then a new report arrived. A human unit had requested entry for a protective escort. Not soldiers. Not weapons. Guardians. Queen Arya approved the request without interest. She expected more of the same, small, fragile beings hiding behind machines. The doors to the chamber opened. Conversation stopped. A human stepped forward and the chamber reacted at once. The living walls shifted color, flashing pale white, a signal of surprise. Several counselors leaned forward. Others stood without realizing they had done so. The human was enormous. He stood over 8 feet tall, his body broad and solid, his posture calm and controlled. His movement was slow, careful, as if he was aware of his strength and chose not to show it. His name appeared on the floating display. Noah Carter. Queen Arya narrowed her eyes. This was not an illusion. Not armor. Not a machine. This was human. Noah wore simple protective gear, flexible and worn, marked by use. His hands were bare. His face showed age lines and quiet focus. His eyes moved across the chamber, not with fear but with alert patience. The Queen rose from her throne. That, she said slowly, is not possible. Her scientists hurried to activate scanners. Light passed over Noah's body in thin waves. Data streams exploded across the air, filled with readings that made no sense. Bone density far beyond baseline human levels. Muscle fibers reinforced but natural. Organs adapted for extreme gravity and pressure. Neural response faster than expected, but stable. No cyber control, a scientist whispered. No weapon systems. Another shook his head. He is not enhanced by force. This was voluntary. Queen Arya stepped closer. You are a weapon, she said. Noah looked at her, then gently shook his head. No, your radiance. Then explain yourself, she said. I am a protector, Noah replied. His voice was deep but calm. I volunteered for adaptation programs so others wouldn't have to. The council murmured again, louder this time. Queen Arya circled him slowly, studying every detail. His balance. His breathing. His stillness. You altered your own body, she said. Why? To survive, Noah answered. Some worlds don't forgive weakness. That word struck something in the room. Weakness. Queen Arya stopped in front of him. You admit humans are weak. Noah nodded. We start that way. The Queen waited for him to continue. So we change, he said. We learn. We adapt. We don't wait. The silence that followed was heavy. Human scientists stepped forward, smaller figures beside Noah's towering frame. One of them, a woman named Sarah Lynn, spoke carefully. These guardians are not soldiers, she said. They protect colonies, research teams, and evacuation routes. They are built to endure harsh worlds so others can live. Queen Arya turned sharply. Built? Sarah met her gaze. Shape. By choice. That answer disturbed the Queen more than she wished to admit. Her species waited generations for change. Evolution was sacred, slow, controlled. To interfere was forbidden. Humans had ignored that rule entirely. They chase evolution, one Dominion scientist said quietly. They force it to run. Queen Arya returned her attention to Noah. Do you feel superior to your kind? She asked. Noah shook his head. No. Do they fear you? Sometimes, he said honestly. At first. And after? They see I'm still human. The Queen studied him again. Despite his size, he showed no hunger for power. No challenge. No pride. Only purpose. You could rule them, she said. With a body like this. Noah's expression did not change. That's not what strength is for. That answer echoed in her mind longer than she liked. Queen Arya stepped back. The chamber slowly regained its usual color, though faint traces of uncertainty remained. Remove him from the chamber, she ordered. But keep him within the station. As Noah turned to leave, the floor vibrated slightly under his steps. Not threatening. Just real. After he was gone, the council erupted in discussion. This changes nothing, one noble insisted. One altered human means little. But there may be more, another replied. Queen Arya raised a hand and silence returned. Humans are still beneath us, she said firmly. This proves only that desperation can create monsters. Yet even as she spoke, her thoughts betrayed her. That human had not looked desperate. Later, alone again, Queen Arya reviewed deeper data. Human environments labeled uninhabitable. Colonies built on broken worlds. Survivors adapting again and again. Noah Carter appeared in many reports. Not as a conqueror. Not as a hero. As a shield. He stands in the worst places, she murmured. So others do not have to. Outside the station, a human ship launched quietly, carrying Noah back to duty. Queen Arya watched it disappear into the stars. For the first time since humanity entered her awareness, she did not laugh. Instead, she wondered how many more surprises humans were hiding, and what would happen if the Dominion ever stood in their way. The warning came without sound. One moment, the station moved as it always had, smooth, steady, alive with quiet energy. The next, the lights dimmed, then flashed red. The living walls of the station darkened, their colors shifting in sharp, broken waves. Deep inside the station, the core fractured. At first, no one understood what had happened. Sensors gave mixed signals. Power levels dropped, then surged. Gravity trembled, pulling hard for a breath, then releasing. Alien guards froze in place. Their training demanded confirmation. Orders. Clear chains of command. They waited for instructions that did not come. Then the station shook. A low, violent tremor ran through every corridor. Panels cracked. Energy conduits burst open, spilling light and heat like open wounds. Screams filled the air as civilians were thrown from their feet. Queen Arya felt the impact from her private chamber. She steadied herself instantly, claws gripping the edge of her platform. Report, she demanded. None came. Across the station, systems failed faster than Dominion protocols could respond. Emergency barriers hesitated, waiting for authority codes. Evacuation paths remained locked. And people began to die. In the human sector, alarms blared loudly. Red lights painted the corridors in harsh color. Noah Carter reacted before the alarm finished its first cycle. He felt the change through the floor, through the air, through his bones. Years on unstable worlds had taught him to trust his body. Something was wrong, very wrong. Core breach, a human voice crackled over comms. Multiple decks affected. Dr. Anna Wells appeared on Noah's wrist display, her face tight but focused. The fracture is spreading, she said. If it reaches the outer ring, the station won't hold. Tell me where I'm needed, Noah replied. Anna sent him maps and data in seconds. Human teams were already moving, not waiting for orders, not waiting for permission. Noah ran. The station shook again as he reached a collapsed corridor. The ceiling had torn open, exposing raw space beyond a failing energy shield. Civilians were trapped on the far side, alien families, some injured, some frozen in fear. Dominion guards stood nearby, weapons lowered, unsure. The barrier code hasn't cleared, one guard said. We are waiting. Noah didn't wait. He stepped forward, braced himself, and grabbed the bent metal frame blocking the passage. With a deep breath he pulled. The metal screamed as it twisted free. The guards stared in shock as the path opened. Move, Noah said firmly. They moved. Alien civilians rushed past him, guided by human volunteers. Some stared up at Noah with wide eyes. Others clutched their children, barely aware of who had saved them. Another tremor hit. The energy shield flickered. Noah positioned himself beneath the damaged section, planting his feet. His muscles locked as he held the collapsing structure in place. Go, he shouted. The last civilians passed just as the shield failed completely. Noah leapt back as debris crashed into the empty space behind him. He did not slow down. Across the station, humans were everywhere, lifting fallen beams, carrying the injured, sealing ruptures with emergency foam and raw strength. Dr. Anna Wells coordinated from a mobile command hub, her voice calm as she redirected teams again and again. Pressure spike on Deck 9, she said. We need a seal now. I'm on it, Noah replied. Deck 9 was chaos. The core fracture had sent a wave of energy through the deck, melting walls and breaking gravity controls. Several members of the Dominion's royal line were trapped inside a failing chamber, protected by guards who could not open the doors without royal codes. Queen Arya's niece was among them. The guards argued. Protocol demanded authorization. The doors remained shut. Noah arrived and understood the situation in seconds. Stand back, he said. You are not permitted, a guard began. The deck shook violently, cutting him off. Noah placed both hands on the sealed doors. Heat burned his skin through the gloves. The metal resisted, reinforced by alien design far stronger than human standard. Noah pushed anyway. His muscles strained. Old scars ached. His breath came slow and deep as he forced his strength forward. The doors bent. Crack. With a final effort, they tore open. Smoke poured out. Inside, royal figures lay stunned but alive. Human medics rushed in, pulling them free moments before the chamber collapsed entirely. High above, Queen Arya watched the feed in silence. She saw her bloodline carried to safety by human hands. She saw Dominion guards standing aside, stunned. She saw Noah Carter fall to one knee as exhaustion finally caught him. The station still shook, but the worst had passed. Dr. Anna Wells' voice came through the channel. Core sealed. Stabilization holding. Emergency lights slowly shifted from red to yellow. Gravity steadied. The station breathed again. Hours later, the corridors were quiet. The injured were treated. The dead were counted. The station remained scarred but alive. Queen Arya summoned a private report. She watched the recordings again. Humans moving without orders. Acting without fear. Risking themselves for those who had mocked them. She focused on one image. Noah Carter, standing alone beneath a failing structure, holding it together with nothing but his body and his will. They did not wait, she said softly. An advisor stood nearby, silent. They were not bound by our rules, the Queen continued. They did not ask who deserved saving. She turned away from the screen. For the first time, Queen Arya said, I saw strength without pride. Somewhere in the station, Noah Carter sat quietly, his injuries wrapped, his work finished. He did not know the Queen was watching. He did not know that her view of humanity had just begun to change. But the stars did. And they remembered. Queen Arya sat alone in the high archive chamber, where the light was soft and the air was still. Before her floated the records of humanity, gathered from many worlds, many years and many broken places. She had ordered this review after the disaster, though she had not told her advisors why. At first, she watched with the calm distance of a ruler studying a lesser species. That calm did not last. She saw human history begin and struggle. Their earliest records spoke of hunger, cold, and fear. Their world fought them at every step. Storms destroyed their homes. Disease took their young. The ground itself shook and burned. Other species would have broken under such pressure. Humans did not. They learned, failed, and learned again. Queen Arya watched their wars next. They were many. Too many. Humans fought over land, over belief, over pride. Cities burned. Millions died. She felt no shock at this. Violence was common among young species. What unsettled her was what followed each war. They rebuilt. Again and again, after loss beyond reason, humans stood back up. They buried their dead, marked their grief, and returned to work. They argued, blamed, and mourned, yet they did not stop moving forward. Even when their own kind caused the destruction, they chose to repair rather than surrender. Arya slowed the record. She watched a ruined city rise over decades into something stronger than before. New laws formed. New ideas spread. Old mistakes were studied instead of erased. Humans carried their pain openly, like a scar they refused to hide. This makes no sense, she murmured. Her people removed failure from history. Humans kept it close. The records moved on to space. Early human ships failed often. Crews were lost. Systems broke. Worlds rejected them. Each failure was followed by a pause, then another attempt. The designs changed. The crews adapted. Where others waited for perfection, humans accepted risk. Arya felt unease tighten in her chest. She saw humans reach hostile worlds and refused to abandon them. Instead of leaving, they changed themselves. Their bodies, their tools, their ways of thinking. They did not ask if the cost was too high. They only asked if survival was possible. Then she saw the Guardians. Noah Carter was not the first, nor the largest. He was one of many who volunteered to become more than human so others could remain the same. Guardians stood in storms, fire, radiation, and vacuum. They did not conquer. They endured. Queen Arya turned away from the display and stared at the distant stars. Endless wars. Endless losses. Endless rebuilding. Yet they endured. The thought disturbed her deeply. She ordered Captain Ethan Hale brought to her private chamber. Ethan arrived without delay. He walked alone, unarmed, guided by silent attendants. His posture was relaxed, though his eyes were alert. He stopped several steps from the Queen and bowed his head slightly. "You wish to see me?" he said. Arya studied him. He was unremarkable by her standards. No physical power. No visible enhancement. And yet, he represented the species that now troubled her thoughts. "I have reviewed your history," she said. Ethan nodded. "Then you have seen our worst." "Yes," Arya replied. "And your persistence." She rose and moved slowly around him, her steps quiet. "Your people fight each other," she said. "You destroy what you build. You lose more than you gain. By all logic, you should not have survived." Ethan listened without interruption. "Yet you did," she continued. "You spread. You adapt. You protect even those who insult you." She stopped in front of him. "Why?" she asked. Ethan looked up, meeting her gaze. He did not rush to answer. "We don't always know," he said at last. "Sometimes we just act." "That is not an answer," Arya said sharply. "It's the truth," Ethan replied calmly. She narrowed her eyes. "Your guardians risk their lives for strangers. Your medics save alien children before their own wounded. During the crisis you could have evacuated first. You did not." "No," Ethan said. "Why?" she demanded. He was silent for a moment. Then he spoke, his voice steady and simple. "Because we can." The words were plain. Almost careless. They struck her harder than any challenge. "Because you can?" she repeated. "Yes," Ethan said. "If we have the strength, we use it. If we have the chance, we take it." "For no reward?" Arya asked. Ethan shrugged slightly. "Survival is reward enough. Sometimes helping others helps us survive too. Sometimes it doesn't." "Yet you do it anyway." "Yes." Arya turned away, her thoughts racing. Her people calculated every action. Cost, gain, risk, reward. Nothing was done without balance. Humans ignored balance. They acted because they were able. She faced him again. "Do you not fear extinction?" she asked. "All the time," Ethan answered. "Then why risk it?" Ethan considered her question carefully. "Because if we don't," he said, "then we aren't really surviving. We're just existing." The chamber fell silent. Queen Arya felt something shift inside her, something she had no name for. It was not fear. It was not admiration. It was a slow, heavy weight pressing against certainty. Respect. She had ruled through logic and control. Humans ruled themselves through choice and will. "You are a dangerous species," she said quietly. Ethan smiled faintly. "We've been told that before." "No," Arya said. "Not because you seek power. Because you give it away." Ethan said nothing. She dismissed him with a small gesture. "You may go." He bowed again and turned to leave. As the doors closed behind him, Queen Arya returned to the records one last time. She no longer saw chaos alone. She saw motion. She saw refusal to end. Humans did not wait for permission from the universe. They endured. And for the first time in her long reign, Queen Arya wondered if endurance, not perfection, was the truest form of strength. Queen Arya stood upon the highest balcony of the Dominion Central Station, looking out over the vast expanse of stars. The galaxy stretched before her like a sea of light, infinite and unchanging, yet filled with life she had only just begun to understand. The station hummed beneath her feet, alive with its own energy, yet nothing within it could match the movement of thoughts racing through her mind. She had ruled for centuries, commanding a civilization that believed in absolute control, but now she found herself questioning everything she had once believed. The humans had changed her perception in ways she could not fully name. Their actions during the station disaster, the courage of Noah Carter, the calm decision-making of Ethan Hale, and the coordinated effort led by Dr. Anna Wells, all of it had demonstrated a form of strength the Dominion had never known. Humans did not rely solely on power, genetics, or protocol. They relied on will, determination, and choice. That had become clear to her in a way no report or observation could have conveyed. News from the council arrived rapidly. The fractured core had been stabilized permanently, and the station, though scarred, was functioning again. Humanity had proven its reliability. The humans had not only survived, they had ensured the survival of alien civilians, including members of the Queen's own royal line. This had unsettled her advisors and left the council divided. Some still argued humans were weak, small, and unremarkable. Others had begun to recognize the truth, though few would speak it aloud. Arya raised her hand, calling for silence among the assembled council members. The room fell quiet immediately. Her authority was absolute, even when her thoughts were private and her intentions unspoken. She looked upon the room of noble advisors, generals, and scholars, her mind circling on one undeniable fact. Humans could not be measured by Dominion standards. They did not follow rules of strength as her species did. They followed will. She turned to her advisors. "We have observed humanity," she said. "We have judged them as is our custom. And yet, in the trials of our own creation, they have demonstrated something we do not understand. They have proven their endurance, their courage, and their adaptability. They have acted where others would hesitate. They have protected life without calculation or protocol." There were murmurs in the council chamber. Some nodded. Others shifted uncomfortably. They had not yet accepted the idea that humans were more than simple creatures to be observed. Arya continued. "I have studied their history and I have observed their actions firsthand. I once believed humans weak. I once thought their survival was improbable. I now admit that I was wrong. Humanity possesses a form of strength that we cannot replicate because it is not measured by size, power, or control. It is measured by will." The words were heavy in the chamber. For centuries, the Dominion had valued superiority as the highest principle. To admit error in judgment was rare, almost unheard of. Yet Arya spoke them clearly without hesitation. The council waited, unsure how to respond. Finally, one senior advisor, a tall, lean figure named Vorel, spoke. "Your Radiance," he said cautiously, "you suggest that we should consider humans as equals?" "Yes," Arya replied. "Not as equals by dominance, but as partners in a shared future. The Dominion will not conquer humanity. We will not control them. We will cooperate with them, learn from them, and allow them to learn from us. Their adaptability makes them invaluable. Their will makes them reliable." Another counselor frowned. "Is this not dangerous? They could turn against us. They could spread their influence too far." Arya shook her head slowly. "That is precisely why we must engage with them. Their unpredictability, their willingness to act, their courage in the face of disaster. These are qualities that cannot be controlled, but they can be respected. It is not domination that grants power, it is understanding and choice. Humanity's power lies not in size or technology, but in the will to survive and to act." The chamber remained silent, heavy with contemplation. The counselors understood the magnitude of her decision. They would now prepare the formal announcement, the proclamation that would reach the stars. The Dominion would no longer view humans as inferior. Humans would be recognized as partners, allies, and most importantly as a species whose spirit could not be underestimated. Arya returned to her private quarters to compose her address to the galaxy. She considered every word carefully, knowing it would be broadcast to countless species and civilizations. Her voice would be heard not just by her own people, but by the humans themselves, and by every species observing from nearby worlds. Her tone had to convey authority, humility, and clarity. When the moment arrived, she appeared before the galactic transmission console, her form tall and composed. Behind her, the view of the stars stretched endlessly, the same stars she had once believed were hers alone to watch. She began to speak. "The Dominion has long believed that strength is measured by dominance, by control, and by power alone. Today we recognize that we were mistaken. Humanity has demonstrated a form of strength we do not fully understand, yet we cannot deny. They act not for reward, not for gain, but because they have the will to act. They survive, adapt, and protect life in ways that surpass expectation and calculation." Her words resonated through the galaxy. Aliens of many forms paused to listen, some in disbelief, some in cautious agreement. Arya continued. "We announce a new pact with humanity. This is not a pact of dominance, nor a pact of submission. It is a pact of shared future, of cooperation, and of mutual respect. Humans are not weak. They are adaptable. They are resilient. They are capable of shaping the future with their choices, and it is our duty to acknowledge their contribution, to learn from them, and to work alongside them." In the human sector, Noah Carter listened to the broadcast from his station. He did not stand out, did not claim reward, and did not seek recognition. He was a protector by choice, not by title. Yet as Queen Arya spoke, he understood that the Dominion now saw humanity differently. Not as small creatures to be controlled, but as partners with will, courage, and the ability to endure. Noah quietly turned from the console and began his daily rounds. He moved calmly, methodically, carrying out duties without fanfare. He had no need for praise, yet his actions had already changed the galaxy. Through him and others like him, humans had proven their value, not with size or firepower, but with determination and choice. Back in the council chamber, Queen Arya watched the human fleet move through the nearby systems. She observed how they coordinated, how they adapted to new situations, how they ensured the safety of their own ships and of allies. Every action reinforced her conclusion: humanity's strength was not measured by muscle or numbers, but by the will to act, to survive, and to protect. Her advisors were still uneasy. Some questioned whether this acknowledgement would lead to vulnerability. Arya ignored their doubt. She had learned that power was not only in control. Power was in understanding, in respecting the abilities of others, and in working together toward a common purpose. Later, Arya visited the station where Noah had assisted during the core disaster. She walked silently through the corridors, observing humans and aliens working side by side. Noah moved among them, assisting quietly, lifting debris, guiding evacuees, and ensuring order. His size and strength mattered less than his calm authority and willingness to act without hesitation. The Queen paused in the central atrium, watching Noah help an alien child to safety. The child did not understand fear, only relief, and Noah's presence reassured them. Arya realized then that the essence of humanity's power was not in domination, in weaponry, or in wealth, but in their ability to will themselves to act in the face of danger, often for the benefit of others. She turned and left the station quietly, her mind full of thought. The galaxy was changing, slowly but unmistakably. Humans were no longer small in perception. They were no longer underestimated. The Dominion had seen the truth, and the truth was simple yet profound. Will was stronger than size, courage more powerful than control, and adaptability more enduring than perfection. When Noah returned to his quarters at the end of the day, he found a simple message from the Queen herself. It was not a command nor a reward. It was acknowledgement, a rare thing from a ruler like Arya. Your people have proven the strength of will, it read. You have reminded us that true power is measured not by size, but by action. Noah smiled faintly as he always did and returned to his quiet work. He did not need praise. He never had. Yet he understood that the galaxy now recognized something important about humanity. Across the stars the message was received. Aliens who had once mocked humanity paused, reconsidered, and began to adjust their strategies. They began to see humans not as weak beings to exploit, but as partners with a will that could not be measured or ignored. The Dominion had not conquered. Humanity had earned respect. Queen Arya looked once more at the stars from her balcony. She breathed slowly, deliberately. For centuries she had ruled with certainty. For centuries she had relied on power, tradition, and control. Now she understood something new. Humanity's power was not in their bodies, their technology, or their numbers. It was in their will, their courage, and their ability to act even when nothing guaranteed success. The stars shone quietly, indifferent yet attentive. And humanity, small by some measures but unyielding in spirit, continued its path through the galaxy, not waiting for permission, not fearing judgment, and always moving forward. Queen Arya smiled faintly. It was a rare expression for her, quiet and controlled. For the first time she felt a sense of understanding and respect that could not be measured. Humanity had taught her that power came in many forms, and that will, determination, and courage could surpass everything else. And in that moment she knew the future would be different. Not because humans were dominant, not because they were strong, but because they were relentless in the way only humans could be. The Dominion would stand alongside them, not above them, and the galaxy would see a new era begin. Noah Carter continued his work, unseen by most, yet central to the change. He did not claim glory, but he had reminded the galaxy of something it had long forgotten. The true measure of power is not in size, but in the strength of will, the courage to act, and the choice to endure. Queen Arya returned to her private chambers and closed the doors behind her. The galaxy outside continued its slow spin, countless stars lighting the darkness. She allowed herself a final thought, one she had not admitted before. Humanity was not merely another species to observe. Humanity was a lesson, a reminder, and a force that could not be ignored. The Dominion had acknowledged it. The humans had proven it. And the universe, vast and endless, had taken note. And through it all, Noah Carter walked quietly among the living corridors of the station, doing what he had always done, acting with will, courage, and purpose, unaware that he had already changed everything.